So let's talk about the book of Luke. I'm going to read from the book of Luke, the first chapter, and I'm going to set up the introduction for you. I'm going to read it first and then give you background information. Uh, the title of this session, it says Dedication to Theophilus. It says, "Inasmuch as many have taken in hand to set in order a narrative of those things which have been fulfilled among us, just as those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word delivered them to us. It seemed good to me also, having had perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write to you an orderly account, most excellent Theophilus, that you may know the certainty of those things in which you were instructed." One of the beautiful things about the book of Luke is it's geared, it's formatted, and it's made for people that are Gentiles. So Luke gives us a lot more clarity and understanding when we read it, so it makes sense to us. When you read the other Gospels, they're designated for other things. Matthew is for the Jews, so they have languages that people can understand from the Jewish standpoint. Luke sometimes gives us interpretation of some of those languages so we can understand it as well, but it doesn't hinder our understanding as we learn as well. So a couple of things that I wanted to bring out that I noticed that was interesting was Luke is an English form of the ancient Roman name Lucas. Interesting. Which is derived from the Latin word lux. So lux means Lucas, meaning light. The word lux means light. Isn't that amazing how God chose a Gentile to show light unto the world through the gospel of Jesus Christ? Amazing. It came into English by way of a New Testament of the Bible, where Luke is one of the four gospel writers. So Luke is the writer of the gospel. And I want to give you background information because this will help you to better understand. So when you read it, it kind of clicks. Luke was I want to say accomplice to Paul. So Luke traveled with Paul. So he had opportunity to be with him throughout his journeys. I believe he had 3 missionary journeys that he went on, and he was with them. So a lot of the history we get is from Luke being with Paul, having an eyewitness account of what he was with, or reading, or understanding as it was happening in history. At that time, the book of Luke did not exist until later on. So just clarity for that. Luke from the Bible, a physician who was a disciple of St. Paul, was called Lucas in Greek. This was shortened to Luke in English. So being a physician, there are certain trainings that you receive, and they say that when you're a doctor, sometimes you lose your bedside manner, which basically means that sometimes you don't know how to have sensitivity because you're more detail oriented. You want to be specific, you want to be measurable, you want to account for the things that you're doing, the diagnosis. When you're diagnosing the situation of the person, the physician, to the person that is sick, whatever the case may be, so that they're able to understand how to diagnose it, to fix what the problem is. So that's why you see Luke with a lot more details than some of the other writers. Especially for us, that's awesome. Luke is traditionally the masculine form of the name. Lucy and Lucia are available as feminine variation. So that's another variation of Luke. If it was on the female side, that would be the name of it. One of the things I really, really love about the book of Luke is the fact that it's a dedication to Theophilus. Now, the word Theophilus, it means the lover of God. Isn't that awesome how Luke is dedicating this book to a person, but his name is Theophilus, lovers of God. When you read the book of Luke, you will definitely become a lover of God if you are already not. And it will deepen your relationship because the word of God says how in all of thy getting, get an understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing, but in all of thy getting, get an understanding. So Luke gives us understanding for the belief that we believe in, the experience that we have experienced ourselves. So a little bit further. And it says the first verse, "And as much as many have taken in hand to set in order a narrative of those things which have been fulfilled among us." So these are things that it's been fulfilled among us, meaning at that particular time, the apostles were alive. There was about 500 brethren that witnessed the resurrection of Jesus. Mary was still alive. His Jesus' half brothers, if you want to call it, step brothers, they were still alive. So Luke had access to a lot of the people in that time. We remember the book of in the book of Acts, the council that they had. James was there. All the different leaders and rulers that was there to glean information from and to be able to have that opportunity to get the history straight, to be able to say this was just not a fable or a story that somebody heard, but now it's being written so that it will be written in the books that everybody else will have an opportunity to hear about. When I think about that, I think about Job when he said, I wish my words were written in a book. Of course, he didn't have an idea that was what was going to happen, but because that the words were written from the books, it helped us to see what did he went through. We saw the beginning of Job, we see the middle of Job, we see the ending of Job, and how God blessed him double for all of his trouble. When he was going through, he didn't quite understand what was happening, but at the end, he knew. But because now we have a history of that story, we are able to draw strength from it, saying, look, if God put Job through this situation and he still brought him out and blessed him double for his trouble, that's a word of encouragement for us to say, if we can go through what we're going through, we have a reward as well. And we thank God the reward is not only on earth, but also in heaven. So that's a plus. Okay. Second verse, it says, just as those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word delivered them to us. So that's one of the beautiful things about the fact that the New Testament saints, they kept those records and those histories and those things, they passed it on. As Paul said, teaching unto faithful men, giving them wisdom or giving them history or guidance to be able to let them know that this is the things that we keep. We look at Jude at the end, at the second book from book of Revelation. Jude talks about how earnestly contending for the faith that was once and for all delivered unto the saints. And it's interesting that it says the ministers of the word, and those are the people that actually heard Jesus or had an opportunity to witness him, hear the words, see him in action. I mean, it must have been amazing to be able to handle the word of life, like to be able to touch Jesus and touch his flesh, to look at his face, to see his facial features. I don't think there was nothing out of the ordinary about him, like an awe kind of moment when we seen him, but it was the inside of him that was working, the fruits of the spirits, the inner man. That was what was really that amazed them, to see that this vessel is doing these things. And that gives us hope to say, hey, if God used him and it wasn't the vessel, then he can use us, because it's the spirit that was inside of him that was working. It's the same spirit that we have that raised up Jesus from the dead is inside of us, giving us that resurrection power. And it says, and it seemed good to me also, having had perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write to you an orderly account, most excellent Theophilus. Now this is blowing my mind away. It says, and it seemed good to me also, having had perfect understanding of all things from the very first. So this is the reason why Luke is able to lay that foundation, to be able to build word upon word, line upon line, here a little, there a little, to be able to give us a foundation too, so we don't have to try to rebuild the wheel again. We don't have to go through the process again and learn how to, like, how did he put it together? I don't remember. So this book helps us to have words that we can read, or to see the history that is unfolding before us in an orderly manner. So he's going in a chronological order, if I may say it that way. He's doing it in a chronological order from the beginning, and he's continuing on. And then when you get to the book of Acts, it's the starting of the church, and then the book of Acts 28, that's the end of the book. But it leaves hope there to say the church is still continuing on, because the rapture hasn't happened yet. So he's laying it in order, chronological order. Sometimes I look at the Bibles that are there that says they're in chronological order. I would love to be able to take the time to read it in the chronological order that was written, not the way that we have it in the Bible. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but just having a chronological order lets you know that it was spoken at this time, it was fulfilled at this time, and so forth. Because sometimes when we read the scriptures, we can read word and verse, and there's 200 or 500 years history, and it passed to the next one. So sometimes we have to find a context for what we're reading. So that's what Luke does. He gives us context or a chronological order that we're reading in. Okay. And I love that fact that it says most excellent Theophilus. In the book of Luke, the most excellent Theophilus, that word excellent means is a person. It's not just a word that they came up with or a title that the person had, but it says most excellent. That means most excellency, your most holiness, and so forth. So he's given us, and Theophilus is the word, the lover of God. I need for you to get that because that's going to connect you to the book of Acts, okay? That you may know the certainty of these things in which you were instructed. So he was instructed in these things, he knew about it, but now he's reinforcing that certainty that he has, that it was not in vain. He did not learn all of these things in vain. It wasn't a fable. It was something that really did happen. Because as you get further and further away from the time of Jesus' death, there's less people that are visibly seeing him or seeing the works that Jesus had done. So the more further you get as far as time-wise, the more they had to rely upon the testimonies of what they were eyewitnesses of the 12 apostles, the 70s, and different people that were testifying and giving witnesses of those things that happened. Otherwise, we would not really know. We thank God for the Spirit of God who was also bearing witness with them that the words that they were speaking were spirit and life, because the word were like fire shut up in their bones and it was just burning inside of them. So that's just the introduction that I wanted to give you for this part. And hopefully you'll be able to come and join me for the next one, because it's going to be the next chapter. So thank you so much. I'm going to go to wrap it up. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on the down. Oh man, that's our time together. I hope you enjoyed it. I know you did. Go ahead and check out the next video. You'll love that one too. Don't forget, subscribe to my channel and click the like button below. Spread the love with a quick share. I'm Patel, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, let's live like kings.